Good evening, everybody, or good morning if you're in the States. Yes, school is out for summer. I am done. All my paperwork is done. My classes are done. My grades are completed, and now I'm just gonna here in China talking to you fine people. It's Wednesday night here, and I am sticking around for one more week in Zhongshan, and then I'll be taking off on my trip. But everything is completed. Everything's ready to go for next term. I submitted all of my paperwork with the government. My permits have all been renewed. And now I'm free to leave, and I don't have to report back to work until October. Oh, late September, but my classes will start in October, meaning I have some traveling to do. So again, it's Wednesday night, and everyone else is getting ready for bed. And because I don't have work in the morning, I thought I'd get online and talk with you. Now I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to read some articles, answer some questions about any topic you want. But some of the articles I have here are pretty good. Also, a couple of videos. I haven't been making too many videos lately because I was finishing up the term. But I have completed a video on Chinese coffee culture. It's in the can. It's edited. It's uploading as we speak. And I should publish that probably tomorrow after I've completed all the metadata for it. I have another one that I'm filming about e-bike culture in China and my thoughts about this evolution of a very small part of the transportation network here, and the good and the bad, and kind of the new laws that are come into play here in China regarding e-bikes. I think that'll be a very interesting one. You guys know I love my e-bike, and I love rolling around on it for many reasons. And then I'm also completing a video about one of my favorite restaurants here in town as a favor to the owner. And it's also going to be a fun, I think it'll be a kind of a fun comparison between American restaurant culture and Chinese restaurant culture. So that's currently also being worked on. I've filmed most of it. Now I just have to edit it and get it down. But as always, if you're out there, say hello. It's good to talk with you, and let's begin. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is teaching English in China. Many of you are English teachers out there, and or thinking about maybe teaching English in China. And I get this a lot. The city I'm in is in Zhongshan. Now, most of you probably don't even know where Zhongshan is. Yeah, Zhongshan is in the Guangdong province. It's part of the Pearl River Delta. It's just across the bay from Hong Kong, and it's in between Guangzhou and Macau. It's a great location, yet not many people know about the city. And to be honest with you, I kind of like it that way. It's a wonderful place to live, and I'm very happy here. But many of you don't want to come to a place like this. Maybe you don't want to come to a city that's not well known and that doesn't have the infrastructure that most expats would want when they arrive here in a foreign country. So I have this article. I found this one on Job2 Daily. The source is from Teachaway, and the writer is Alvi Karakar. God, I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. Hello, good to see you. Hello. Say hi and where you're from. I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, so there's so much info out there about the different teach abroad options as an English teacher, and there are plenty of blogs keeping you posted on things like the 12 companies in China that are hiring English teachers like crazy, so on and so forth. It's easy to see why new grads and experienced ESL teachers are flocking there. The requirements are manageable, no need for a teaching license, a TEFL will do, and the salary is good. Yes, for now. But if you've watched some of my other live streams, you know that a TEFL is not going to be good enough. They really are making strides to demand more and more credentials, including perhaps even a teacher's license from your home country, which is something I'm working on right now. I'll go into that later in the future. The Moroccan teacher who works in Kufa. Good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well out there. You've been there for what, a month now in Kufu in the northern China. I hope you're liking it. Let me know when winter hits if it's still something to your liking. God, I'd love to go to Morocco one day. Okay, it's on my list, way, way down the line. The question is not, should you teach English in China? That's a no-brainer. You save money, get experience, see things that will change you, opportunities for career progression and salary increases. Sign me up. Yes. The question should be, where should I teach English in China? Which of China's cities has my name written all over it? It's a question I get all the time in my email. Where should I teach? Where should I look to teach? What city should I go to? Everywhere in China is different. China is huge. You can make a comparison like America. You have Los Angeles and New York, on opposite coasts. They're very different cities, but there's a lot of similarities because they're both American cities. But China is just as big as America, and I would say Guangzhou is vastly different than the northern part of China, but many similarities. We know lots about China, but if you're like I was before I spent a bazillion hours researching, not that much of it was very specific. That is true. There's not a whole lot of, when I was doing my research, and even today, there's not a whole lot of information about China on the internet. It's mostly things like tourist stuff. You go see the Bund in Shanghai, go see the Great Wall, but there's thousands of cities that are worthy of your attention that you cannot find any information on. And that's one of the reasons why I started this channel, was to show the world that, hey, China is a hell of a lot more than just Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Aside from 3 to 4 or more famous cities, those would probably be the tier 1 cities. Oh, by the way, as far as the tier cities go, they've just increased the tier 1 cities list. It's huge now. It used to be just the 4: Beijing, Shanghai, Tianjin, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, 5. Yeah, but then there were all these two second-tier cities and third-tier cities, and everyone kind of moved up. So I think like Chengdu is on that list now, and Chongqing is on that list now, and a lot of other worthy cities have joined the tier 1. And Zhongshan, I believe, was bumped up to a tier 2 city. Very interesting stuff. I would have been pretty stumped if I had to figure out where to live, but now I know. Chengdu, no question. See why below. Okay, so she's going to talk about Chengdu. I haven't been to Chengdu, but I heard great things. I've taken the liberty of compiling info on the 12 best places to teach English in China, so you can make your own judgment. You can thank me later. So I have this list here, and we'll go through it. And I've made my own notes on all of these as well. So I'll read what they have to say, and then, yeah, that's my video being finished. I'll read what they have to say, and then I've added some other things here. For example, average salary you can look to make in those cities, and some of the other things, who should move there and why. Number 11 is Nanjing, also known as the City of Culture. This is a small city with plenty to do and see. Whether you plan to explore places and temples or wander around shops, bars, and restaurants, there's an eclectic mix with plenty of Western brands to keep you company. I haven't been to Nanjing yet, but it is on my list of many, many places. Places to see. Nanjing has also got so much history. Just north of Shanghai, the big city is never far away. But you can retreat to this little center of culture, calmness, and history for your day-to-day living. There are lots of parks dotted about the place, so plenty of green to break up that concrete. That's important in China, is to find a city that has a lot of parks and a lot of greenery, so you're not living in a concrete jungle. The city is definitely a great place to teach English, and there's a friendly expat community that will welcome you immediately. Jobs include everything from public to private schools, so you should be able to find a job that pays well for a city with a lower cost of living. I've heard of that too. If you like culture, history, and food, Nanjing would probably be your place to go. It's actually a very large city by world standards. It's about 8 million people, and you can make the average salary of up to 12,000 to 20,000 RMB a month. So I always say, if you want to go to the big cities, great, but stick to one of the smaller cities that's a little lesser known and has a lot lower cost of living, and you'll have a lot more disposable income, and in my opinion, probably a lot more fun too. Number 10, Ningbo. I haven't been to Ningbo. I think Ningbo, if you know Jiao Nation, I think that's where he was based, Ningbo. So you can go watch his videos for more about Ningbo. Uh, it's a big industrial place, a lot of foreign trade there. Just a 2 hour train ride from Shanghai, I think south of Shanghai. Ningbo is a doorway to the rest of China. You'll have no trouble jumping on a train and seeing the rest of the country. Of all the smaller cities, this is probably the most globally minded. It's home to many international businesses and expats and is considered a business hub. That's right. Uh, this is for wander the streets and gawk at skyscrapers disappearing into the clouds or hop in next door to bow at a local temple. This city is a juxtaposition of the old and new, giving you enough of life's modern comforts to keep you the same and enough of ancient China to make you feel like you're getting your daily dose of culture. Sounds good. The concentration of international businesses means the demand for English teachers is high. So why not add this to your list of Chinese cities you'd like to live in? That's also another point. If you go to a large international business hub in China, Zhongshan is one of them, to be honest. Dongguan is another one. There's a lot of business people who are looking to learn English, and that's my target demographic as far as my students. I prefer to teach adults and business people. So that's Nanjing. Nanjing, very, very good for business English. If you want to moonlight in some kind of foreign trade, this is a great place to go. The salaries are on par with the average, and it's also very centralized into the rest of the country. And it's also known as having a very developed economy. So I've heard that from many people as well. Cobbs, hey, have you finished as well for the summer? Yes, I have finished for the summer, dude. I'm sure you have. Do you have plans for your summer? Are you going to stay in Zhongshan? Or are you planning on leaving? I'm leaving in 1 week. So if you want to get together, we can get together this week, dude. That would be great to talk with you and compare some notes. I'd love to do that. Let's talk offline. I think you have my WeChat, right? If you don't have my WeChat, get me on Facebook and let's make a plan to hook up for a beer this week and chat a little bit before I go, because I won't be back for many, many, many weeks. All right, very interesting. All right, let's move on to number 9, Xian. I'm going to Xian this summer, probably in early September. I'm going to spend 10 days. I want to see the interior of Xi'an. I might even do a couple days in Beijing, but I'm more interested in hiking Washrooms, which is considered one of the most beautiful mountains in China. So I'm very excited about Xi'an. What are you asking? You going to leave where? To America? Yeah, I'm going back to America next week. I'll be gone. My plan is this. I'm going to be in America for about a month, visiting family. I'm going to do a giant road trip to the center of the country. I'm going to go to the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm going to go to Yellowstone National Park. I'm going to tour a little bit of Utah. But my focus is just to spend time with my family, sit by the pool with a glass of California wine, do some wine tasting, do some hiking, have some great dinners with the family, just have good family time. I also want to see a Dodger game too. So it is also my 40th birthday while I'm there, and my mother's birthday as well. So we hope to just do all the family stuff, all in one visit that I've missed for the last year being away. But after that, I'm going to be in Tokyo. I'm going to Japan for a week. It'll be my first time in Japan. I'm going with a friend who's going to be my tour guide. She is actually from Japan, and that's going to be really, really cool. And from there, when I'm there, Japan is really expensive. I'm not going to be spending any money on hotels. I'm going to stay in the cheapest freaking hotel I can find, because I want to spend all my money eating food and touring the place. I'm really excited about Japan. And after Japan, I'll be headed solo towards Bangkok, spend a couple days in Bangkok, then a week in Phuket, sitting on a beach, doing hiking and do some island hopping, maybe some scuba diving. I hear the diving there is not that great, especially this time of year. But maybe just snorkeling. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out when I get there. And from Phuket, I'm going to head over to Cambodia to Siem Reap and spend a week in the jungle in Angkor Wat. and any other trouble I can get into. Then back to Bangkok for another few days, and then come back to China and hit up Xi'an and perhaps even Beijing. And that is my preliminary itinerary. But of course, things change, as you know, with me. It's not going to be a typical walkabout where every day I'm going to a different place. I'm going to relax. I'm taking a lot of luggage with me, and I just want to sit on a beach and enjoy a summer vacation, nice long summer vacation. So I got really good mix of resort hotels. I'm going to stay in a in a hostel. I haven't stayed in a hostel in forever, but I will stay in a very nice hostel actually, and just enjoy meeting people and touring around the country. Cobb says, "Yeah, I'm done at this university as well. I'm going to Friends Bar on Saturday with some guys from Serbia. Cool. If not friends, we can meet up at Ocean Plaza for a coffee or three. Three coffees. Yeah, maybe. Saturday is my date night. I'm probably not going to go to Friends Bar. I don't go to Friends Bar too much anymore. There's a couple of craft beer breweries, little small hole in the wall places around Leehood that I enjoy. That I tend to go to more. I just like trying different beers. Friends bar. If a bunch of friends are going, then I'll go. But it's just a little too loud and a little too smoky. Even out on the patio, it can be a little too smoky there. But I know the manager there. I know the bands there. It's a small world. Friends Bar is very, very popular, and I do like it there. It's just I can't do it too much. It's just a little too much for me. I guess I'm getting old. All right, let's talk about Xi'an. We're not joking when we say history buffs will be impressed. The powers of preservation have smiled kindly on Xi'an, and there are some stunning archaeological things to see there. Yes, the emperor. Uh, I always say this wrong. I'm sorry. Qin Shi Huang. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, guys. Qin. I always know him as Emperor Qin. Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum dates back to the 3rd century BC. Thousands of terracotta warriors are buried with the emperor of the time, and the sculptures still stand today. Everyone knows about the terracotta warriors. I will be saying that. God, there's so much history. The great thing about Xi'an is they're still learning about this, still digging up stuff there. It's fascinating. If I was an archaeologist, I'd be there. Other cities include the Xi'an City Wall, Daming Palace, a drum tower, and a great mosque. And that's only skimming the surface of what the city has to offer. If you want to steep yourself in Chinese tradition and history, then this probably is the city for you. It's easy to navigate on foot and also has space exploration center and an arts center. A decent sized city. You shouldn't have a problem landing an English job there. Xi'an is growing. Everyone's going there. The tourism industry, especially domestically, is booming. And I'm looking forward to visiting not just the city, the surrounding the city are all these incredible historic sites that you can go visit. I'm I'm really excited for the summer. Number 8, Chengdu. And I've been wanting to go to Chengdu forever. I have friends there and they've been begging me to come. It's a giant city. It's over 14 million people. And the largest building in the world is there. I gotta go. I gotta go. I was in Chongqing, which is very close to it, but I didn't make it that far west. I don't care about the pandas so much. Everyone goes there to see the pandas. There's pandas everywhere. You can go to Macau, you go to Chinlong and Guangzhou and see pandas, and they're adorably cute. But I know Chengdu has a hell of a lot more, especially if you're an outdoorsman. I think Chengdu's would be a good place. So Chengdu is the city of pandas. It's not called that, but they have panda reserve where they breed pandas every single year. Yes, you've understood correctly. There are baby pandas such there to smush your little heart. I saw the 3 baby pandas at Chimelong and Guangzhou, and they're freaking adorable. Pandas are amazing. On a slightly more serious note, Chengdu is more than just pandas to offer. There are lots of things to do, like Mount Qingcheng. I think Qingcheng. Good hiking in Chengdu, from what I've been told. Just your standard place on a mountain, no biggie. And then the Dofu Cottage, both drawing crowds. A smallish city by Chinese, not small. A smallish, it says, a smallish city by Chinese standards, huge by any other standards. This city is pretty affordable. In fact, it's home to quite a few expats who are drawn by the relaxed, sleepy vibe of the city and clearly the pandas. The wages are good and the cost of living means English teachers can enjoy their life there. I've heard that as well, that it's very relaxed city. Every place in Western China is pretty relaxed. I'm drinking scotch tonight, gentlemen. Okay. Hangzhou is number 7. Again, another place I haven't been to. Yeah. Yeah, I hear so much about Hangzhou from people. And they say it's an incredible city. I think it's one of those cities that you really have to go to see it yourself, to really appreciate it. I mean, I see pictures of it and it looks like any other Chinese city. I hear stories that it's beautiful and everyone has a good time, but no like real specific stories about why I should go there. So I think I need to just go there and take it in on my own. So Hangzhou, from the tranquil beauty of Qiandao Lake to the quiet pagodas of West Lake, this peaceful city is the perfect spot for the quieter types. If you're interested in history and culture, this city is a place to experience a different side of China. And if you're ever in need of a little hustle or bustle, you'll be a 1-hour high-speed train ride away from Shanghai. So the best of both worlds. Tea houses, water activities, and a more manageable city size means that you'll be able to settle and get a run of the place a little quicker than some of the vaster cities. There's plenty of cultural and historical spots in the city. Is a healthy mix of old and new. It's also pretty close to several other cities, and there's a large network of trains that can whiz you off for a weekend away in a matter of hours. And public transport is relatively cheap. I've heard that as well. I mean, when I was there, you've got Suzhou, you got Nanjing, Hangzhou, and then a little further south is Ningbo. There's a ton of like little satellite cities that surround Shanghai that all have their own like vibe. And when I was there, I only visited Shanghai. So I think a few more trips will probably be in order to that area. The trouble is finding the time to go. I mean, I guess summer would be a good time as any. And then when school's not in session, you don't want to go there on the holidays. There are more than enough teaching opportunities for English teachers in Hangzhou, and you can find positions in both private academies, public schools, and even for the qualified teachers, universities. I've heard that too. Hangzhou has a lot of really good universities, and I do know that a lot of English teachers want to go there because the pay is really good, and there's a lot of opportunity, especially for the international teaching crowd. But that also means that it's very competitive. So you have to have your shit together if you want to go teach there. Shanghai is number 6. If you're nervous about teaching abroad in China, then this might be the best place for you. I'll have my comments on that. This is a home away from home for expats. You won't be short of foreign friends, and there's a large English-speaking community. Actually, there's a number of them. You won't just be hanging out with your fellow TEFL heads, as there are lots of business-type expats too. So it's a bit more mixed than some teach abroad opportunities. There's also many of your home comforts and foods, and it's truly an international hub. That is true. In the center part of Shanghai, it is very international. It feels a lot like Hong Kong, to be honest with you. And when I was there, I commented on the amazing amount of people from all over the world, all speaking English, which seems to be Chinese, and Shanghainese, but English was a very common language spoken everywhere. It was a very easy city to navigate, and there's a lot of comforts from home. However, I was in the center of town, and Shanghai is so big that if you want a job in the center of town where all of that is happening, you really have to have your shit together, and it's very competitive. And those are for the high paying jobs too. The vast majority of people who are coming home overseas and have never been to China are going to be in one of the satellite communities surrounding Shanghai. And you're going to be 45 minutes to an hour subway ride from the center of town where all the action is. And all those little satellite communities have their own vibe and their own thing going on. So you're never going to be bored. But keep that in mind. If you want to go to Shanghai and teach and you've never been to China and taught in China before, it's going to be very difficult for you to score one of those jobs in the center of town because they're so competitive. Just keep that in mind. Cobbs. Okay, I'm easier either way. We can sort things out before you head off. I'm going to Bali in mid-July. Bali. I'm thinking of doing Bali for Spring Festival. I'm going to do Bali in Northern Australia. I'm going to do um, what's it called? Northern Australia, Darwin. So it'll be the off season. It'll be really cheap to visit. I might even do like a Gold Coast, tour. But Spring Festival for next year, that's kind of what I'm aiming for. Do a little Indonesia, maybe even Malaysia again, but definitely Bali and definitely Northern Australia. That's what I'm looking for. Interested in talking to various cities. Hangzhou has a soul and great atmosphere. See, that's another thing. Here's another guy. He's a local university teacher, and he says Hangzhou has a soul and great atmosphere. I keep hearing that. Again, I think it's one of those places I just have to go to and experience for it myself because I don't get the buzz from what I read and what I see in pictures. I'm not trying to put it down. I need more. Let's go back to Shanghai real quick. As it's such a big city, there's a lot of opportunities for teachers when it comes to teaching adults and our business English, yes, but also kids as well. There are public and private school positions too, but there's definitely more on the business end of things. I think it's a good mix of both business English adults as well as the younger. I mean, Shanghai is so international. There's a huge amount of international schools there that you can, and regular public schools and private schools that you can work at. It's worth noting that the cost of living is higher, but then again, the wages are also higher. Yeah, that's another thing. Just because you make more money in a big city doesn't mean that you can have a better life, because you have to look at the cost of living as part of it. If you live in a big city, yeah, you'll make more money, but you're going to spend a ton more money for space in your apartment and food and transportation. So you always have to keep that in mind. Wages start at 12,000. They go all the way up. I've seen contracts up to 45,000, 50,000 RMB per month for Shanghai. So if you're a big city lover, if you're like a New Yorker or you're from London and you love that big city, Shanghai is definitely the place for you. Remember, it's 24 million people live in Shanghai, and it's about 300 million people that live within a 2-hour car ride of the city. I mean, it is massive. It's one of the largest metropolitan areas on Earth. I think it's like number 3. I mean, Guangdong, the Pearl River Delta is up there. Is one of the largest, 100 million here. And then you got Tokyo, I think is Tokyo and Osaka. You combine them together, I think that's the largest one in the world. But Shanghai is way up there, man. It's the largest in China. It's 3 times the size of New York City. Now, I love New York, and New York's the biggest city in America. And you go to New York, wow, you're in the big city. Imagine New York times 3. It's insane. But it's also kind of a soft landing if you're a newbie in China, because you can very easily get yourself situated and have a good life. Here's another note that I found. It's 157 parks in the city. That sounds like a lot, but remember, if you have a city that's 3 times the size of New York City and there's only 157 parks, but again, you are very close to other satellite cities and other great opportunities to go explore. You can live in Shanghai your whole life and not see the whole thing. Jake Davies, hey man, sending this message from Jiangmen. Have you started your holidays yet? Hey, Jiangmen, my neighboring city. I love Jiangmen. I have a lot of friends in Jiangmen, and I've gone there many times to do some hiking. I love Kaiping. Yeah, Jiangmen is a wonderful place. It's very similar to Zhongshan, actually. So, yeah, I dig the city. Yes, I haven't started my holiday, but I am done with school. So I'm technically on my summer holiday right now, but I'm not. I'm sticking around. I'm doing laundry and cleaning my apartment and just setting up for not having any problems while I'm away. So I leave next week. I agree with your comment on Shanghai. I recently rejected an offer from there and I think I made the right decision. Well, you're talking 2 major differences. Jiangmen is hugely different from Shanghai. But again, it's what you want. If you want the big city life, go to Shanghai. If you want a smaller town that's very clean and a little bit slower pace of life, this is great. Astro says, "What's your prediction? Trump-Xi meeting in Osaka for the G20. Who will bow first?" Honestly, um, I don't think anything's going to happen from this meeting. To be honest, I tell all my friends here to wait until the next election before you do any drastic changes to your business if you're in foreign trade. Again, a lot of friends of mine, a lot of students of mine are business people here in Zhongshan, and they're always asking me, should I do this? Should I do that? What's your interpretation of this? I don't think she will capitulate because of face culture in China. I mean, and I don't think he needs to. I think he kind of has the upper hand here, and I don't think he'll do it. Trump, on the other hand, I think would make a deal and capitulate in one way or another, but he won't know he's doing it. He's kind of so far out there. He'll make a decision to do X, Y, Z, and everyone goes, "Wait, what? What are you doing?" And then he'll try to back it up or backtrack or something. I don't think. Here's the thing: she and the Chinese have a plan. They have long-term plans in place. That's what they do, and they play the long game very well. Whereas Trump and America in general has no long-term plan. They are they're going with the flow. They're just doing things as it comes up for necessity in the moment. So, and for that reason alone, I think she is a better chess player than Trump would be. But at the end of the day, I don't think anything's going to happen from this G20 summit. Um, yeah, it's unfortunate what's going on, but we're all living through it. Remember, guys, just a few months. There's going to be a new election. We'll see what happens. Hold on, I gotta. It's bedtime for certain someone. Okay, took care of that. So, but good question. I think so. Okay. All right. So we talked about Shanghai. We're on number 5. Number 5 is the best places to teach English in China. And surprisingly, Zhongshan is not on this list. Number 5 is Harbin. Oh, Harbin, I have some friends from Harbin. My ex-girlfriend is from Harbin, and all I heard was great things about it. And I love anyways, Harbin, a much smaller city than some of its contemporaries. Harbin is definitely a little off the beaten track. If you're not a fan of the cold, then maybe avoid the city that is famed for its ice festival. The winter is long here, but it's not cold all year round. Summer sees temperatures reach 40 degrees Celsius, so be prepared for weather extremes. I like that. In Guangdong, it's hot all year round. There's like 3 months where it's a little chilly, but for the most part, it's just hot and humid, and like southern Florida. But in northern China, they have the seasons. They have a very distinct summer and very distinct winter. And I don't mind the cold. I think the cold is fun. Many teachers prefer summers, but there's a lot to be said about living in the winter wonderland. Bundling up and looking at lights on your walk home from work would be a daily vision you could never forget. The buildings are well heated, and if you're able to cope with the Baltic winter, then you can reap the rewards of living in a smaller city. From exotic Russian-style cathedrals to a ski resort, there's plenty to do. Perhaps the most European city in China, with many of the buildings reflecting Russian influence, and it's not all snow and ice. And the Sun Island scenic area is home to a flower garden, a swan lake, and a squirrel island during the summer months. ESL teachers planning to teach in Harbin can expect to earn anything from $1,000 a month and upwards. That's kind of low. With a reduced cost of living, it shouldn't be a problem to save money. Just make sure you pack a winter wardrobe. Now, I lived in the Dakotas for many years, and I love winter weather. I love the seasons. It's good to change the scenery every now and then. So if you like ice and you're a winter lover, you like skiing and everything, Harbin's the place to go. The money's not all that great. It's 5 million people that live in that city. So in China, it's a small city, but I mean, 5 million people, still a good size city. It's it's pretty big. Let's answer some of these questions. Okay, so Jake Davies asks, will you be going for your holidays? I just mentioned it. I'm going to America, Japan, Thailand, Cambodia, and northern China. I'm working another month and then staying for the summer camps. Okay, yeah. I thought about staying for the summer camps too, but I saved up a lot of money. I was going to buy a car, but I decided, hey, I'm just going to travel because I'm not going to be able to have these summer breaks my whole life. So I'm going to take advantage of the time. James Bernie says, hey, I finally caught one of these live. Thanks, man. Your videos have been really helpful, entertaining. I'm looking for teaching jobs in Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Qingdao. Hopefully moving in September. Very good. I just talked about, you can back up this live stream. I just talked about some of the cities that you might want to work in. Shanghai, I did a lengthy one on Shanghai. Shenzhen is a great city. I always love going to Shenzhen. It's giant. It's growing. The economy is great. It's expensive, but you can make some money there. The opportunities are fantastic, and it's very close to Hong Kong. And I love living in Guangdong. I don't know much about Qingdao other than they have great beer. That could be a reason to go. Hello, foreigner, Squirrel Island. Yeah, I don't know about Squirrel Island. It just says it here in this report that I said they have a Squirrel Island during the summer, a Swan Lake and a Squirrel Island. So, do it. Bring down some more for me. Okay, let's move on. Number 4, Yangzhou. Has anyone ever heard of Yangzhou? If you're in northern China, you have heard of it. This city is 2,480 years old. Wow. So you can expect to stumble upon some nuggets of ancient China here and there. Known for its extensive network of waterways, rivers, lakes, and the ocean, and its cultivated gardens, it's a beautiful city to live in and tends to attract quite a few tourists to its scenic streets. Folk arts like Chinese puppetry and opera are still practiced here. You can definitely get some insights into local culture. It's it's about an hour and a half from Shanghai, if I recall, on the train. It's in Jiangsu, so it's one of those satellite cities like Suzhou, Hangzhou that surround Shanghai. Museums, tombs, temples, and mountains, not necessarily in that order, are all part of the landscape. When you're not eating the local fried rice, the last mentioned, I swear, you can hop on some public transport and check out China's dinosaur park. It's under 2 hours away, and so worth it. You can officially say you've ridden a I can't pronounce that word. Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl? Petrodactyl? If you're into that kind of thing. I don't know how to say that. As for teaching English in Yangzhou, there are plenty of schools on the lookout for native English teachers, from public to private and adult to little cuties. There's something for everyone. Pretty much the same thing of teaching English in China. And the cost of living being remarkably lower than the bigger cities, it should be easy enough to save. So, Yangzhou. Okay, moving into the top 3. Number 3, Shenzhen. I have spent a lot of time in Shenzhen. I still go often, and I love it there. I have many friends there. It is an amazing, amazing city. I can't say it good enough. I don't live there because it's just a little too big for my taste. It's life on a subway. It's a remarkably young city. When you go there, it's young people, young entrepreneurs, young international entrepreneurs. It's got an energy. Everything is new. Nothing is old there. And every time I go, there's something new. There's some new giant building that has just opened, or some new giant office park, some new park that you can go visit. It's an amazing city. It's a showcase of China. It really is. Shenzhen, warm in winter, yes please, and hot in the summer, as it should be. This is the perfect location for lovers of sunny climates. Not that sunbathing is your only form of entertainment. From the bustling traditional restaurants, the hot pot is unmissable, just saying. And shops in Shuiwan district, I think that's it, the Shuiwan district, to the challenging hike on Nanshan Mountain. I was going to do Nanshan Mountain, and I got sick that day, and I couldn't go. There are lots of attractions to keep your weekends busy. You'll also find a fair share of tall buildings, theme parks, and temples dotted throughout the city. If you're worried about air quality in Chinese cities, this might be the city for you to teach English in. Not only does it have some of the best air quality possible in a Chinese city, but the city is famous for its growth and wealth. Yeah, all of the taxi cabs are electric. The buses are all electric. They limit the amount of cars that are allowed on the roads. There's no motorbikes, and the heavy industry is all kind of north in Huizhou and Dongguan. So, and of course, it is a coastal city, so a lot of that gets blown away. The environment there is, I mean, the environment in Zhongshan is great too, but the environment in Shenzhen is the same. It's just beautiful, blue skies year round. There are a couple of days where it can get a little smoggy if the wind blows right and there's an overcast kind of marine layer, but for the most part, you don't see that in Shenzhen. It's incredibly beautiful. Let's see. There is a healthy financial district, and so plenty of jobs to go around the English teachers. The cost of living is lower than China's bigger cities, so teachers can enjoy quality of life they mightn't be able to afford at home. I disagree with that. Yes, you can afford a better life than you would be in America, but the cost of living in Shenzhen is just as high as it is in most of the Beijing. I think Beijing, Shanghai are higher, but it's right up there. I mean, Shenzhen's not a cheap place to live unless you live in some of the major outskirts and have to like commute in. A great location for meeting Chinese citizens from all over the country, as its wealth of job market attracts ambitious talent from the rest of the country. Oh, did I mention that the subway ride to Hong Kong? Seriously, it's right there. Yes, it is right across the border. It's literally on the border. And yes, there you never run into, or it's very rare that you run into a Shenzhen native. They're all from other parts of the country. It's a fascinating place to go to a bar and meet people. Whether you want to teach little kids or adults, there's opportunity for you here. The public and private schools there's no shortage of demand for English teachers in this Chinese city. Teaching English in Shenzhen is also a popular choice, and you'll have no trouble finding a group of expats to hang out with. Yes, there's a ton of teachers in Shenzhen. Uh, the competition for the top paying jobs is extremely high because it is so close to Hong Kong and because it is more of an international city, just like Shanghai. So the high paying jobs tend to get filled quickly and stay filled, and the competition is really high. However, there's a plethora of demand, and you have no problem getting a decent salary. The subway ride to Hong Kong, but there's also the high-speed train now that goes straight into Kowloon Bay from Shenzhen. It takes 15 minutes. Now, it's a 15-minute train ride. That's going to take you a lot more time just to go through immigration and all of that. And those trains are sold out pretty quickly. You have to reserve them in advance. But the convenience to Hong Kong is remarkable. You know, Shenzhen, it's a sister city. It's just across the border. Okay, so that's Shenzhen. It's I don't know how many people. It's 50 times the size it was 40 years ago. A lot of people wonder. It's about 12.5 million people. It's bigger than the country of Belgium. So just the city, and it's a very linear city too. Along the border with Hong Kong. It's just this giant downtown area. But 40 years ago, it was nothing. I mean, it was a little fishing village, and now it is 50 times the size. It's grown 50 times in 40 years. Yeah, some people do say it's the richest city. We'll see about that. I'm not sure. But when you go there, you see nothing but high-end Mercedes and Italian sports cars and a lot of Teslas, a lot of electric cars there. I know you can make more money in Shanghai as an English teacher. I know the salaries go higher, but Shenzhen is getting up there. The demand is pretty high, but it's also a flood of English teachers from Hong Kong that are teaching there too. Also, a lot of the students will go to Hong Kong to learn English as well. All right, so let's do this. Do you know any teachers that teach math? Actually, I don't. That's a great, no foreign teachers that teach math. I know a few Chinese teachers that teach math, but I'm not sure of any foreign teachers that actually teach mathematics. Business math, accounting. I do know one guy who specializes in business accounting in English. He lives in Guangzhou. But again, accounting is not necessarily math. So there's math in accounting, but accounting is a whole different ballgame. I'm an SAT tutor and would be looking to tutor international students while in China if possible. Yeah, pretty cool. The SAT, the ACT, also consider IELTS because that's another one. A lot of students at international schools need those types of tutors. If you want to teach privately, you got to be careful with that because there's a lot of rules and laws against teaching privately for that kind of stuff. But you can find a specialized training center for IELTS teaching, which will include an SAT and ACT component to it. And their salaries are on par with the rest of English teachers. So if that's what you want to focus in, go for it. Most of American are hostile to China. They very much like Trump. If he still win in 2020, what will happen to China? Our relationship would be a disaster. I disagree. I don't think most Americans are hostile to China. That's an unfortunate comment. I disagree with it 100%. I think most Americans are ignorant of China, meaning they don't know and don't understand. And that doesn't mean that they're racist or hostile towards a people. That just means that they're not educated about a people or they have been miseducated about a people. So that's one thing I try to do and try to convey in my videos. I would agree are hostile, but definitely not most of them. It's a very small group. Just like in China, most Chinese are not hostile towards Americans. Most Chinese are very friendly towards many cultures, but it also goes along that they're very uneducated or miseducated about the culture. And that's why we need to learn more about each other's cultures so that we can get rid of all of this. Now, as far as if Trump wins in 2020, what will happen to China? I don't know, but it won't be good. My opinion is if Trump wins in 2020, it won't be good for anybody. It won't be good for America or China or the rest of the world. I'm not a fan of him. And if you look at the polls, most of America is not a fan of him either. He does have a very strong following. And the way that elections work in America, there is still a good chance that he could win. So we need to be very vigilant. I remember in the 2016 election, um, leading up to it, in the months leading up to it, I was following the election very closely. And, Hillary wasn't my favorite choice, but everyone assumed that she was going to win. All the polls said it, and everyone kind of laughed off Trump. So I remember looking and showing people, look, Trump is ahead in the Republican ticket. He could win. And if he wins, he wants to do tariffs, he wants to do trade war, he wants to do all these things against China. And most of my friends said, yeah, that would be bad, but what's the chance of that happening? Hillary's going to win. They all thought that was the case, and so no one paid attention. If we do the same thing again here and nobody pays attention, it could be very bad for everybody. So I think that's the important thing, is just to watch it carefully, see who the opponents are, see who's on the ticket, really study it, because what happens in America will dramatically affect what happens in China and the rest of the world. I'm not just talking about China's and America's relationship. It's America's relationship even with Canada and Mexico, Europe, India, Africa, South America, all the places of the world, and how those relationships will ultimately affect China's relationships with all of those countries too. So it's a very important election, not just for Americans, but for the whole world. So I think everyone needs to pay attention to that. I don't think it would be a disaster. The world will find equilibrium, but let's hope that the relationship can be repaired and we start moving towards each other instead of apart from each other. Hello Foreigner says, Travel Guide China writes, in the Squirrel Island, visitors can read the lovely squirrels in person. Guess that. I'm from Southern California. There's squirrels in the local mountains where I'm from. I don't want to go to an island filled with squirrels. Asha says, American like you are very much welcome in China because your open-minded attitude. Thank you. I feel very welcome here. And I know many of my foreign friends, not just Americans, but from Canada, from Australia, also feel very, very welcome here. You hear a lot of YouTube channels out there and a lot on the media about people not being welcome. There's a lot of strife and a lot of tensions between it. But here on the ground, in an everyday Chinese city, the vast majority of all the people I know feel very welcome here, say great things about China, love it here. We can have disagreements about minor little details of trade or business or culture, but I think the general consensus around everyone is that this is an amazing place to live, and we've all kind of made it our home away from home. I was thinking about that today, actually. Um, Jake Davies writes, enjoy the holidays, man. Take full advantage of it. Very great advantages. Awesome live stream, by the way. I look to travel more in China anyway. When you come to Jiangmen again, let's grab a beer. I'm down with it, man. We'll go hit up, I think it's Joy City. That's kind of the area that I stay in around the Wanda Plaza Hotel. And I definitely grab a beer with you, dude. I think it'd be cool. It would be great to share experience of working and traveling around China and Asia. How long have you been living in China for? I have lived in China for 3.5 years. My first I've the whole time in Zhongshan. I've traveled around China, of course, but I've based myself out of Zhongshan. The first place I lived in was a town called Xiaolan, which is very close to Jiangmen. In fact, it's closer to downtown Jiangmen than it is to downtown Zhongshan. And if you're familiar with Gujin, which is the town just across the river from Jiangmen, I would go there a lot too. I have a lot of students from Gujin, and Xiaolan is the sister town to Gujin. So we were very close. Now I live in Kaifachu, which is kind of on the other side of Zhongshan, but I still get out to Jiangmen occasionally to see my friends and go hiking and just enjoy the time. It's a huge city. I mean, I hope you've gone out to Kaiping and see the Diallo buildings. It's a fascinating piece of Chinese history in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Could be. So number 3 was Shenzhen, and if you're wondering where Shanghai was number 6. So number 2, Guangzhou. Guangzhou gets a lot of shit, by the way. A lot of people talk a lot of crap on Guangzhou. I like Guangzhou. I think it's a big city. It's overcrowded. It's got some old parts, but it's also got some new parts. It's got a lot of energy there. There's a lot going on in Guangzhou that doesn't get the recognition I think it deserves. I like Guangzhou a lot. So here we go. Guangzhou, the third largest Chinese city. Guangzhou is a little off the beaten track. It is. Guangzhou is not off the beaten track. It is the beaten track. It's Hong Kong's neighbor and boasts an international airport, so you can get to travel on pretty easily. Yeah, Guangzhou Airport is really cool. Shenzhen Airport is really nice. Guangzhou Airport is, I think, a little bit bigger and fascinating place, and you can go anywhere in the world from Guangzhou. It's a little pricier. I prefer Hong Kong, but it's easy to get to Guangzhou Airport and get around. It's home to the Pearl River, and they make their own beer. Although rumor has it, it's far from a perfect pint. Yeah, I don't like the local beer here. I prefer Harbin or Qingdao. From museums to towers, startling skyscrapers, and the massive, even by Chinese standards, Temple of the Six Baiyun Trees, there's plenty to do and see without ever leaving Guangzhou. One of the major benefits of this city is the cost of living is considerably cheaper than Beijing or Shanghai, while still having all the benefits of bigger scale city. Yes, Guangzhou, as far as the tier 1 cities, it's cheaper. I think it's even cheaper than Shenzhen. It's definitely cheaper than Beijing and Shanghai. But it is not cheap. It's 5 times more expensive than Zhongshan, and I'm about 40 kilometers south. So that's a huge, massive increase in the cost of living as far as rent goes in a 40-kilometer distance. One of the major benefits of the city. Oh, we just did that. One of the major benefits of the city is the cost of living. We already did that. Oh, you will have more than enough brands and restaurants from home and plenty of opportunities to save. It's a little off the international radar, so it's also not swamped with tourists each year. That's true. If you're a businessman, though, you know about Guangzhou. Guangzhou, you go there. Canton Fair is the largest, I think the largest in the world. So if you do business in China, you've been to Guangzhou. However, if you're a tourist, Guangzhou, nobody tends to go there. There's not much to see in Guangzhou. It's old Canton. You can make it, but it's not on the radar of the international tourists. Like to the same sense that Beijing or Shanghai would be. So there does seem to be a lot less tourism traffic there, but there is a massive amount of uh, business. I don't want to say business tourists, but business visitors in Guangzhou. Every time I go there, everyone's there talking business. It's yeah. The climate is temperate, occasionally a bit rainy. Like right now, it's the rainy season. So you can escape the Baltic winters on the northern cities. It's green 365 days a year and is known as the City of Flowers, making it one of the most beautiful cities in China. If you want to live in a place with flowers blooming all year, this might be the city for you. Everyone, that's what people say. People say, oh, Guangzhou is dirty and ugly. And I disagree. I think Guangzhou is really pretty. And because it is temperate and we get an awful lot of rain, it is green all year round. And so the hills are green, the gardens are beautiful, and there really are flowers everywhere. And it's beautiful. It's, especially some of the older villages, as you walk through them, people have these little flower gardens out on their balconies and everything. It's gorgeous. I don't know why it gets such a crappy, reputation. Native English speakers will have no trouble landing a job in this busy city. Depending on your qualifications, there are opportunities in both public and private institutes, as well as a wealth of companies who teach business English. I agree. Not only it's a big city, and it's similar to Shanghai or Shenzhen as far as the opportunities for teaching. There's a lot of international schools there, and a lot of business English. But I think I get this feeling, and I could be wrong, but in Guangzhou, there's a lot more large companies that hire internal teachers to teach their staff. Many companies, especially these large international conglomerates that are based in Guangzhou or surrounding Guangzhou, have HR departments with a large education budget, and they will hire a native English speaker a full time to be their English trainer for all of their staff, their international sales, their supply management people, their factory workers, whomever. And you can get a job in a large Chinese company as a full-time English teacher. The pay is really good. The benefits are great. It's just another opportunity for you. If you don't want to work for a school, you can work for a large company. I know many people who do. All right, let's move on. Around my area, then Joyful City, and I'm living around Wanda Plaza. Okay, great. So you know my area, dude. So if I'm ever in that, I'll hit you up. It'll probably be this fall. I'm back in June. Yes, I have been to Kaiping to do training and had to stop to have a look around the heritage sites, and it was a good experience. Also checked out Taishan and Taishan. I haven't done Taishan yet. It is. I remember saying to myself I was going to go do it, and I never got around to do it, and I just forgot about it. That's great. And Yingping during my work trips. Yeah. Jiangmen is that city. It's a great city, but it's like at the end of the train. It's at the terminus of the train line. The train stops in Jiangmen and Xinhui actually. So it's a long way to get. I mean, a long way on the high speed train, right? But you can get places on the high speed train, but it's a long way to get anywhere. So it's not as convenient as say Zhongshan, but it's still connected to the system. It's no hate for Guangzhou. I wouldn't want to work there. I like the smaller cities, but I like to travel over there on my days off. Yeah, you can just walk around the city and enjoy it. There's always something interesting going on in Guangzhou. Great international foods. I find that people, just like in any other major city, are busy about their life. But in Guangzhou, especially on the weekends or an evening stroll, the people have been very friendly. Stay away from the taxi cab drivers, though. They're not so great. But the people are very welcoming there. If you go to, say, Hong Kong, even at night, people are on their phone running to get to one place, to one meeting or another. They're just so entrenched in their work. Whereas I feel in Guangzhou, when people are off, they're off and they're enjoying their lives. They're walking down the river. They're at dinner, and they just seem more at ease there. Shenzhen is very similar to Hong Kong as far as that energy at night. Whereas, yeah, people like to party and like to go have fun, but there's always an element of business. There's always some angle of some new company that they're trying to start, and so they want someone to introduce to someone else and tell them about a new app opportunity that they're developing while they share a beer. Whereas in Guangzhou, it seems like at night there's no talk of business. It's all about family and friends. So that's another good thing about Guangzhou, I think. Okay, so number one. Number one is Beijing. I have not been to Beijing yet. I've heard different things. I've heard good, I've heard bad, but obviously Beijing is a world-class city, and I can't knock it because I've never been there. But let's read what they have to say about it. So, if you want a big city life feel, then things don't get much bigger than teaching English in Beijing. See Shanghai if you think Beijing feels too pokey. It's the cultural heart of this country, and so much of ancient China will still visible today. History nerds will be there in their element, walking through Tiananmen Square, gawking at the Summer Palace, and taking a trip to the Great Wall or discover the Forbidden City. When you're not being worried, or when you're not being wowed by history, there are enough restaurants to leave you paralyzed by choice. The traditional crispy duck has been compared to divine intervention. Fact. I like Peking duck. I dig it. I've never had it in Beijing, but I've had it in many other cities. And is it better? Maybe just because I'm in Beijing, it'd probably be better. But Beijing is well known not just for its nightlife, but also its restaurant culture. That is something I would love to experience about Beijing is the restaurant culture. I love good and interesting restaurants. Accommodation is normally included, and you will find yourself in a bustling metropolis with everything you could possibly want, quite literally on your doorstep. That's one thing I've heard. I've heard accommodations might be included, but the free accommodations for jobs in Beijing have a tendency to be kind of crap. That's again the rumors that I've heard. I haven't seen it personally. So if you're going to get free accommodations in Beijing, be careful. Shoot from one end of the city to the other on the subway, cycle through the streets along with an army of other bikes, and marvel at the sheer number of skyscrapers reaching for the clouds. Again, everyone talks about the pollution in Beijing and you can't see the skyscrapers. That's a real thing from what I've been told. And there are a few weeks or even months of the year where the pollution is not there and it's a beautiful skyline. But it's something that scares me about Beijing. I know I have friends who work there now, and they say they have to wear a face mask every time they go outside. I don't want to live in a city where I have to wear a face mask just to go outside. That's the only thing keeping me away from Beijing. They are getting better. They are making strides to make Beijing better. So just like in LA in the 1980s, it was you couldn't walk outside. The smog was so bad, but they enacted laws and they cleaned up the air. Now LA even still has a little smog, but it is so much better than it used to be. I mean, noticeably better. And I can see the mountains every day in LA now. I hope that happens in Beijing because then it will come on my radar a little bit. I know that just like in Shanghai, the salaries in Beijing are very high. They can be low just like anywhere else, but I've seen contracts 45,000, 50,000 a month in Beijing. But of course, it is one of the more expensive cities in China to live in. There's plenty of options to teach English with a private academy, and public schools both hiring English teachers. A lot of international schools in Beijing. The higher salary range will usually be achieved with a teaching license and extensive experience. Yet it's one of those places where the lower level English jobs have a very high turnover. So they go there, they make a little bit of money, but it's not worth staying there for the crowds and the pollution. Excuse me. So the very high level salary jobs tend to be vacated not very much. So the competition for the high level salary jobs are very high. But that is okay. So if you're a big city lover, you're a history buff, you like culture, if you're an artsy fartsy kind of guy and like that art scene, then that might be great for you as well. Here's a fun fact: there are more bicycles in Beijing than there are in Amsterdam. That doesn't surprise me. I think there's more bicycles in Zhongshan than there are in Amsterdam. All right, so those are the top 10 cities according to this article from Yeah, it was disseminated from Job 2 Daily, but it was from Teach Away. So number 11, Nanjing. Number 10, Ningbo. Number 9, Xian. Number 8, Chengdu. Number 7, Hangzhou. Number 6, Shanghai. 5, Harbin. 4, Yangzhou. 3, Shenzhen. 2, Guangzhou. And number 1 is Beijing. Interesting article. I hope that but again, those are only 11 cities. And again, I told you there are thousands of cities that are bigger than most Western cities that have a ton of opportunity that's not even mentioned here. Uh, I know I've known about all these cities before I moved to China, and I never knew about the current city I'm in, Zhongshan, which is 3.5 million people. So it's vast. And again, the research that you can do online about Chinese cities and where you want to go and why is kind of minimal in the English websites. So yeah, you can go to the big cities, but I recommend really going deep into it and breaking it out between northern China, southern China, western and eastern China, and look at those regions. Don't think about, oh, I want to live in this city, I want to live in this city. I think live in a certain region. Just like you want to live in America, you can say, I want to live, and then research those cities and what is your best bet. I picked, there was a couple opportunities I was looking at when I first came to China. One of them was in Ningbo, I believe it was. And I was looking at Ningbo and the Shanghai area, and it sounds really great. But I ultimately picked Guangdong because of its proximity to Hong Kong Airport and the rest of Southeast Asia, and all of Asia for that matter. The convenience of it being a jumping off point to the rest of the world really solidified my choice to live in the Guangdong Pearl River Delta area. Let's get back to some of these. Astro retracted your message. I don't know why. That's okay. Throw it up there again. Let's see. Yeah, the pollution in Beijing is rough. I got a bad chest infection my first time there, but the second time was slightly better. But summers are very hot and dry, and the city is worth going to. Okay, that's a good recommendation. Again, I want to go just to see it. I've never been. It's I think when I go to Xi'an this summer, I might slide step over to Beijing for a couple of days just to experience, do the touristy things, Tiananmen, the Forbidden City, Great Wall, all that kind of stuff, and get an initial feel for it. And then, depending on if I like it or not, maybe I'll go back and dive a little bit deeper into it. But I mean, it's the capital, and there's 20 million people live there for a reason, and I have to go see it. And I don't think a couple of days of bad smog will kill me. I lived in LA in the 80s, so I think I'll live. Do you feel safe living in China? Do you encounter any bad things? Example, racism. I haven't felt any racism towards me. I have some black friends that have told me of some stories of some racism that's very unfortunate. I know people have said some very bad things to me towards black people that really, kind of annoy me, and I feel my duty to educate them a little bit. They just have a misunderstanding of black culture. I don't know anywhere else to put it. But as far as any racism towards me, I haven't experienced, again, aside from the random angry uncle calling me abuelo, which is kind of a racist slur for white people. It doesn't bother me any. If they're talking about being behind my back, I haven't heard it. So racism is not an issue for me. If anything, I have learned, because I talked about it in my last video. For the first time in my life, I'm living in a place that I am an extreme minority. And so I see my life much differently and can empathize with what it is like to be a minority in another country. Like, for example, in America, it's very diverse and everything, but of course, if you put all the ethnicities together, they outnumber the white people. But even though I have a lot of Hispanic in me, I still look white. So, everyone puts me into that category. And so I'm definitely part of the majority of America. So being in a minority and seeing the world has allowed me really to empathize with the plight and the struggles and the motivation of minorities in other countries. I have a lot of work to do on that front, and I will continue to be very open-minded about that. But as far as Chinese people being racist towards me, I haven't seen it. I have seen them be racist towards others. And I'm not just talking about black people. I've seen people be racist towards, Japanese, towards Koreans, towards each other, uh, the other ethnicities here in China. Or it's unfortunate, but every country has that element. America has a lot of racism. Every country has it. So as far as bad things happen to me, there was only one experience I had in China that would be considered bad, and I was robbed in Guangzhou by a taxi cab, but it was more of a robbery of convenience. I wasn't mugged. I wasn't threatened or anything. I literally was looking for a taxi cab to go back to my hotel one night. It was late at night, and I showed the address on my phone and said, "Hey, can you take me to 我要去这个酒店?" I wanted to go to this hotel. And he kind of looked at it like this, and he asked, "Okay," and I gave him the phone. So he's looking at it like this, and as I stepped away to get inside my car, he took off with my phone. So I literally handed him my phone, and he drove away with it very quickly through a red light, by the way. So that's really the only bad thing that's ever happened to me. It was just a bad taxi driver. You know, I hate taxi cabs, not just in China, but everywhere in the world. Taxi cab drivers really kind of bug me. And that's a really unfortunate thing that happened to me a couple of years ago. Let's see. But other than that, it is an amazing experience to visit Beijing, tourism, and going off the beaten path. Great. I'd love to go again. I want to see the Great Wall. I want to see the Forbidden City. Yeah. Kiss Cox Clan. Hello, Chinese people are racist towards themselves. you know, what is it? There's an awful lot of self-deprecation amongst the Chinese culture. It's a strange dichotomy. I meet a lot of people who are very proud to be Chinese, and it's great. And then they say some kind of self-deprecating kind of comment, and I think it's mostly just to be fun and humble about it. So I think that's what you mean by that, which is okay. All right, guys. I got a couple more minutes left. I want to do one more. It's a quick one. And again, keep the questions coming. These are great. Awkward moments you may encounter in China. This is mostly it's just a couple pages of some comments that were made about expats in China. I think they were interesting because some of them I identify with, and others I'm like, what is this? So, awkward moments a foreigner might encounter in China. This is by GIC, Team Guide in China. As an expat in China, what kind of awkward situations have you come across? We've spoken to some expats in China to find out the things that they've encountered. So, number one, many of those who stop me on the street would also request to have their pictures taken with me. Yeah, that does happen. It's nice. You almost feel like in some city in Guangzhou it doesn't happen. Well, sometimes, but when I travel throughout China, I get a lot of people just want to get a selfie or take a picture with me. It's wonderful. Like, oh yeah, get a picture with me. I get a picture with them, and cheers. You make new friends. I don't think that's awkward at all. I think that's extremely friendly. What is awkward is if you're on a bus or a train, and somebody comes up to you with their phone, looks at you, right, and then they take your picture, and after without asking, they just take your picture, and then they give you a little thumbs up and walk away. So that is a little awkward. But again, I don't care. When I see someone doing that, I just strike a pose for them, because it's fun. It kind of makes you feel like a rock star a little bit in some ways. All right. Ching Chong Microdome. Do Chinese have open washrooms? Yes, they do. Not always. I mean, there's doors in all the washrooms, but it's funny because in America, you go to a lot of I'll give this for an example. If you go to a rest stop, you're on the highway in America and you drive, go to a rest stop. Those rest stop bathrooms are well known to be terrible. Everything is wet. The doors are hanging out the hinges. There's graffiti everywhere. It's dirty. It doesn't smell good. I mean, those are the restrooms in America. But and many of them don't have doors, so they're wide open, so everyone can see you dropping a deuce right in front of everybody else. And oftentimes, for the urinals for the men, there's no dividers, right? But in China, there's none of that. You have open troughs for the urinals, and the stalls themselves all have doors. And all the rest stops I've been to on the highways here in China have been remarkably clean and very, very nice. Many of them are kind of open. They're not in buildings that have like a roof, but lots of natural airflow coming through. So I've been very impressed with the restrooms. Racism equals discrimination or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on their belief that one's own race is superior. Yeah, that's what it is. Again, I haven't felt any of that towards me. In fact, I will say this, that a lot of the people I meet when the subject of race comes up amongst my Chinese friends, they're very curious than anything. They ask questions. They don't say these people like this, these people like that. They say, Paul, are these people really like this? Are these people really like that? They want to know more information. Again, I don't feel as though they're racist. I feel as though they're just ignorant of race. They need more exposure. They need to be educated, and they want that education. They're not set in their ways saying people are like this, blah, 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 that you see in so many other racist people in the world. So my conversations with Chinese people when it comes to race is more of they want to learn. They want to understand it better. They just want to ask questions. So I'm happy to oblige as little as I can. All right, here's another one. A lot of Westerners are incredibly picky eaters. I think I probably lost that pickiness somewhere between the pig brain and the duck's blood soup. I will admit that I am an incredibly picky eater in China. This is true. I still struggle with eating food that has bones in it. So pork bones, fish bones. It's something, it's like a mental block in my head that I don't like to eat. Pig brain, duck blood soup. I haven't tried that. I'm open to it. I tried pig brain. I would try duck's blood soup. They have another thing here in China. It's an egg. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. It's famous. It's an egg that is like soaked in the urine of virgin boys, something like that. And I've seen people eat this stuff, and it looks crazy. I don't know if I can eat that, but I will eat. I will be adventurous and at least try things. But as far as everyday meals, going out to dinner and stuff like this, if it has bones, I struggle. I'll try and get through it, but it's a shit ton of work that I struggle with. Turtle egg. I've eaten that. I haven't eaten turtle egg. That's a new one. Prediction on Huawei. Can they survive without U.S. tech support? Yes, I've talked about that before, Asher. I think Huawei will be fine. They're huge, and they're already partnering up and buddying up with their other friends throughout the world. I think they're going to be just fine, and they'll accelerate the development of their own operating system without the use of Android. And I think that Android, and I think America's shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to banning Huawei and Google from working with Huawei, because now they're just going to develop their own operating system, and then they're going to sell that operating system to the rest of the Chinese cell phone makers and the Indians and the Russians and everywhere else, and they're just going to be a giant. Android has a giant monopoly on that market, and Huawei is going to accelerate and take over an awful lot of that market share. Do they still use Google there? Yes, I have another article that I'll want to talk about. Maybe I'll do a video about it, about Google in China. And a lot of people say, oh, Google's banned in China. Well, only certain products of Google are banned in China. Like Google search engine, which is their number one moneymaker, right? They're obviously not here. and that's more of a protectionism thing for Baidu. Um, Google Docs, unfortunately, is not here. I wish they were. Google Maps doesn't work, but Google Translate works. Uh, the Google Play Store is huge. The Android operating system and everything that comes with that is here. Google AdWords is here. Google has a giant presence in China. They have an office here in Zhongshan. They have a Google AdWords and many employees here in Zhongshan. So to say Google is not in China or banned in China is incorrect. They are giant here. Now, they would love to open up their search engine and Google Maps and all that stuff and expand in China. And China's like, well, wait a minute, you're going to dominate the local brands if you do that. And they will. And that includes YouTube too. There's other reasons why those particular services are not operated in China. It has to do with, you know, data sharing and stuff like that. But I'm not smart enough to know. Go watch Nathan Rich videos. He explains the Facebook and Google thing better than I can ever. But yeah, Google is still here and they're still kicking ass. Now, this new Huawei ban in America and the banning of Google working with Huawei is going to be a big problem for Google because, like I said, I think Huawei's going to speed up their own OS and the other manufacturers, Xiaomi and maybe even Samsung, you know, who knows, you know, the Oppos of the world and all these other Chinese brands that are out there making all these phones, they're going to move towards a Huawei operating system. They're going to move away from Android. Okay, next one. Your boss tells you to eat more when you already have food in your mouth. That has never happened to me. You know, I have been exposed to Chinese drinking culture with the, you know, with the boss. You know, you go out to dinner and you know, ganbei, ganbei, ganbei. You know, you drink a lot of baijiu. I have experienced that, but and yeah, they really want you to drink with them. But all you have to do is say no, thank you. No, thank you. I have to drive, or no, thank you. I don't drink very much. I've had enough. And they will respect you. They respect that decision just by saying no, thank you. I've had enough and you're fine. You hear all these stories about, oh, I have to drink, I have to drink. No, you don't. Just say no, thank you, and you'll be fine. Who cares? What else do we have here? Everyone's message is being retracted. Okay. All right, a couple more, and then I'm going to get off here in about 10 minutes. Okay, you walk down the street, and everyone is staring at you. And your first thought is my skirt tucked into my underwear or something? And then you realize, oh, no, I'm just a foreigner. In the bigger cities, that doesn't happen so much. But when you live in a smaller city, it does happen. Everyone sees you. There's no privacy here. Everyone sees you and everyone notices you walking down the street. When I lived in Xiaolan, which is a small town, and I would go running in the town at night, and I went at night because I thought there'd be less people on the roads and I can just, you know, put some music in my ears and just enjoy a nice jog through the city. But even then, every corner I walked, people were staring, they're pointing, they're taking photos as I run by. You get used to it. You really do. It's a little jarring at first. You feel, ooh, especially as an American, where privacy is so important to us. But then you just get used to it. Here in Zhongshan, it still happens to me. People take a glance, but they just, oh, it's another foreigner, and they just move on. And again, I get used to it. But I do miss, and I do feel this when I go home to America. When you walk down the street, nobody stares at you, nobody looks at you. You have that. There's privacy in a crowd. You know, I do miss that sometimes, and I'm looking forward to that next week when I go home. Here's another one. Yeah, here's the thing about that. Remember, Chinese people are generally very friendly, and you're in a minority, and they don't have very many foreigners in China, and especially for the older generation. It's still kind of an anomaly to see a foreigner in their country because it was closed off for so many years. So it's again, they're just you're an interesting person. When someone calls you on your phone and starts screaming things at you in Chinese, no one's ever screamed at me, but I do get sales calls, you know, and they, oh, ni hao, and then they tell me, you know, in Chinese, oh, I'm doing this, I'd like to sell you something, and I politely say, I'm sorry, 听不懂中文, or something like that, and I have to hang up on them, and I feel bad for hanging up on them. But the sales calls, having a straw mat instead of sheets. You know, Chinese beds are rock hard. You know, and I do miss a padded bed. Even today, I have a couple of blankets as padding for my bed, but it's still very hard compared to the beds back home. Rust floating in the bottom of your water boiler. Clean your water boiler. I don't know what that is. The fact that no one ever knows what to do when they see you on a bus. Generally, okay, so there's some people will actively avoid you on the bus. I take the bus a lot. I think it's nice. It's only one UN and you can play with your phone and relax. So I'll sit on the bus, usually two seats, right? And I leave the second seat open. And there'll be a ton of people on the bus, and my seat will remain open. People would rather stand than sit next to me. And I don't think I smell bad, you know. I just think they find it a little weird. And then you got other people who just don't care; they just sit right next to you. But people will actively avoid you on the bus. The other thing is people will stare at you on the bus, and that's when I get the most of the pictures. They'll do the whole, you know, they're looking and they kind of do this, take a photo, right? It's fine. You get used to it. It's okay. I always just wave back at them. When someone wears a horribly misspelled Chinglish shirt and you really want to take a picture, I do that all the time. Especially here at the college, a lot of the students wear some crazy shirts in English, and almost none of them know what it says. I saw one shirt, and I called them out in class. It said, "I am a whore" on it, or "I am a hoe," but it was supposed to be like "I am a prostitute," right? So I told him, "Hey, do you know what that means?" And I told him in Chinese, "That means you are a prostitute." And he got all embarrassed and didn't know what to, poor guy. um, but I do see like a lot of foul language that children wear these T-shirts. A lot of incoherent kind of sentences, um, and it's unfortunate. Some of them are really funny. Other ones are really poetic. You know, they're like, "Wow, that's a very interesting way of saying that." And so it kind of, and I do want to take. I still take pictures of some of them. When you go to an underwear store and none of the bras are, I guess this is written by a girl. When you go to the underwear store and none of the bras are even close to your size. No comment on that one. Not opening gifts in front of people. I guess it's a Chinese tradition to not open gifts in front of people. I guess you're supposed to take it home and then open it. I don't care. I open it in front of them. I want them. I say thank you, and I open it right in front of them, and I say thank you because I'm not Chinese. That's the way I do it, and I don't think I'm being rude when I do it. I hope I'm not, but that's kind of. I get a lot of gifts from students, guys. When random people shout hello at you. Yes, I get that all the time. Hello, hello, hello. It's great. Go down the street, hello, especially the children, they run up to you. Hello, welcome to China. It's wonderful. I don't think that's awkward at all. I think it's remarkably friendly. What awkward situations have you encountered in China? Feel free to let us know below. So here's a couple other ones. When your boss forces baijiu down your throat over dinner and you won't take no for an answer and you're rehung for the entire day. Afterward, that's never happened to me. Again, no one forces you to drink baijiu. You can always just say no. Just say no, kids. When you can't seem to figure out what flavor or type of toothpaste, coffee, bread, etc. you are buying. That's true. You know, sometimes, especially when it comes to breads, things in the supermarket, and I don't understand the Chinese, or the Chinese is written, but it's, you know, the printer is kind of faded, so I don't really know exactly what flavor or what type of bread I'm buying. Coffee, I've gotten pretty good at. I can distinguish the different. I know those characters, and I know the difference between the coffees. Toothpaste has never been a problem. When your roommate forgets to put the lid down on the toilet seat, she takes a shower and the whole toilet seat is soaking wet. That only happens in the wet bath. That always. It's still common here in China to see the wet dry bath bathroom. But things are moving towards, a separate shower from the toilet. Getting offered blood tofu and intestines and watching closely to see how much you will eat. That is true. A lot of people, a lot of my Chinese friends, when we go out to dinner, they will order purposely. They'll order the most insane thing on the menu and put it in front of me just to see if I will try it. And they always stare. They get together and stare. Is he going to try it? He's going to try. He's going to try. So I do, and you know what? 9 times out of the 10, I love it. So it's fun. Yeah. When your female boss tries to hold your hand on a daily basis, that's not bad. Yeah. Those girls in grocery stores that scream, chant product information at you in Chinese, that's fine. They're just doing their job. I walk, I try out the products. It's fine. Getting asked to be a language partner. I get that a lot. I get asked to be a language partner all the time. Hey, I'll teach you Chinese if you teach me English. Depending on who that comes from, has different different meanings. Let you use your imagination for that. That's it from me, guys. An hour 30. I'm done. Do you have any last minute questions for me? If not, I think I'm going to call it a night. It is now midnight here in China, and time for me to hit the sack. Again, thank you all for watching and supporting my channel. Again, I've got 3 videos coming out soon. One on coffee culture will be published tomorrow. Another one on e-bike culture and the advantages and disadvantages to Chinese cities and their economy. And so these are, and then another one about a pizza parlor here, local town. So most of the next 3 or 4 videos coming out will be videos of substance, not travel. They really are topics that I put a lot of work into these videos. And then a week from today, I will be home in America celebrating 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. And enjoying some family time. I will be videoing the whole trip. I'll be gone for 10 weeks, I think, total, a little less than 10 weeks. So big road trip in America. I'm going to be vlogging the whole time, going to some amazing places, of course, Japan, Thailand, and Cambodia, and then northern China. And I hope you guys enjoy it. So a couple more videos of substance, no more live streams. I might live stream from America, but I doubt it. Until then, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful summer. Take care.